So here come the Parramatta Eels, looking to bounce back from that 38-16 defeat of the Roosters. It was 18-16. They were behind with just 25 to go, and it blew out late. Gail Broughton was a standout for the Eels, gold medalist at the Com Games on the Gold Coast 4 years ago, Olympic gold medalist last year with the New Zealand Sevens team, and has moved to Western Sydney to be closer to family.
Hello.
And they are in the house as they were last week to watch her go about her business.
Yep, got ya. Stay on.
So the Dragons looking to make it 2 from 2. The Eels chasing their first win of the season in round 2 of the NRLW. And it's Hanisi with the first carry of the game. Her sister was actually meant to be playing for the Dragons this year, but is injured.
Yeah, Fatafe Hanisi, Philomena's little sister, has had no luck with a couple of knee injuries.
Samaima Taufa, she's another key for the Eels today. Front row forward for New South Wales in that Origin win back in June. Here's Christian Pio, just short of the halfway line. Ellie Johnston with a carry, takes it into Dragons territory. Holly Wheeler and Tegan Dimmock, the welcoming party. Here's Taylor Preston, her first kick in the NRLW on debut. It's a good one, deep, taken by Tonagato. She sees some space down the left, and she's well held by the former Dragon, Rakia Horn.
Well, I think, Ben, that Dean Witters would be happy with that first set completion, and the kick came through well, handing the ball down deep into the Dragons' left-hand corner.
Andy Robinson, first set of the game, the winger doing some work. Mailungi and Taufa, the tacklers for the Eels. Elsie Albert missed last week with that ankle problem. Good to see her back, the PNG captain.
The PNG jukebox. The hits just keep on coming with Elsie.
Love it. Love it, Tasha. Broughton collects the kick from Pearson. Bumped away from the first couple and driven back Shaylee Bent. She wasn't letting her go with the assistance of Wheeler and Keely Brown. Here's Tess Staines. And put down by Penatani. Of all the players, it's Tiana Penatani, one of their key individuals. The Eels, of course, the first player to sign a multi-year NRLW deal.
Yeah, that was definitely catchable there for Tiana Penatani, one of the more experienced Eels players. Both her and Samaima Taufa seem to be doing a lot of the work, especially defensively. Taufa last week, 46 tackles, Ben, which is more than double than any other Parramatta player.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? Just short of the half century for Maima Taufa. Good push this in the scrum from the Eels. Had to be picked up by Davis and releases Tonagato. The gap was only slight, but it only has to be a small opening for Hema Tonagato.
Rakia Horn did well then to contain her. She's moved into the centres, was playing wing last week.
Elsie Albert just 10 metres away, just outside. Holly Wheeler and Pearson. There's space aplenty out to the right, but Rachel Pearson couldn't get it there. Scored all 10 points the last time these two sides met in the 10-0 win for the Dragons. Davis, Tonagato, and now Brown, and put down. So the Dragons, their first attacking set, doesn't quite go to plan.
No, Keely Brown, very strong run. Spins here, attempts to offload. Shaylee Bent just out of her reach there.
Sam Squires is sidelined for us today at CommBank. Sam, how are conditions down there?
This is an absolutely beautiful day here. It was raining last night, but it's blue skies and dry conditions. Very different to the last time these two sides met in round 2 last season. Torrential rain and it flooding at Wynn Stadium. The girls said you couldn't see one end of the field from the other. For the Dragons, they've never won at Combank Stadium, and for the Eels, well, a tough ask facing the two grand finalists in their first 2 weeks, but they do have the first 2 games at home, and they're hoping to give the home crowd something to cheer about today.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Elsie Albert strong on Johnston, but she was able to get the offload away, and Ash Quinlan, former Dally M Touch Player of the Year, and she was with the Tigers back in 2018. So she's sort of come along the same path as Hayley Maddock. Christian Pio. The Eels arriving at the last. And it's Preston who's slicing it down to Tegan Berry, who's immediately looking for some open pastures. 2 tries last week, and of course the runaway as well. She has got plenty of speed.
Arguably probably the fastest player in the NRLW.
It'd be a good foot race, wouldn't it? Berry, Jamie Chapman's up there as well. Tonagato, her teammate. Here is Emma Tonagato. Davis goes for a scamper out of dummy half. Looked to be hit high maybe by Preston, gets away with it. Fui Mayono and Pearson sends it immediately right. And Shaylee bent to Brown. Penatani came up and put the hit on Keely Brown. Pearson is finding the space in behind fullback and winger, and it's Broughton who picks it up, and it's Gail Broughton who was just brought down by Fui Mayono. Had to make that grab or the fullback would have been off.
Just goes back to Rachel Pearson's great kicking game. She can just have a stranglehold on the opposition with that boot, and that time she chose along the ground, still managed to thread it through nicely and find some green pastures.
Well, we saw it yesterday on show from the boot of Racine McGregor, just pin the Broncos back every time with the kicking game, and we're seeing it on show from Pearson, but they've got a set of defence coming up. The Dragons, a penalty goes the way of the home side. So a real opportunity for Parramatta. They showed their attacking qualities last week. It was more at the defensive end that they had issues against the Roosters. So what a chance to put themselves in front. They were always behind last week against the Roosters.
Well, Ben, they've actually never scored a point against the Dragons. So this is probably their best opportunity, having the ball in this sort of field position. And Dean Widders definitely will want to see his team open up the scoreboard and score first blood.
Well, he said in the post-match press conference last week, Dean Widders, he wanted more intensity from his team, more fight and hunger, and we're seeing it from the Eels early on. Preston's pass to Foliaki. She scored last week on return to this competition. Taufa, straight at her opposite. Holly Wheeler looking for the rip. Couldn't quite get the ball off Taufa.
A great competition between 2 great number 13s.
Ellie Johnston. Still going Ellie Johnston. At Rachel Pearson with the assistance of Shaylee Bent. They go short side. Penatani, the former Dragon, taken on the last. But the Dragons have possession right on their own goal line. They've got a long way to go. Dean Widders, you sense he'll be happy with the start from Parramatta.
It was great scrambling defence by the Dragons to manage to turn them away. Tiana Penatani coming at pace on the line there. Very difficult to stop. Took 4 of the Dragons, but there they are. They're all onto it. In comes the help. Deny Tiana Penatani that opening 4 points. Hanisi's called for the rip.
Well, she's looking for it, isn't she? Philomena Hanisi. And Kezi Apps back in her preferred second row spot.
Yeah, Sowie promised she'd have the number 11 on her back, but still may play in the forwards. But Sowie's come through and allowing her to play as the edge forward, her favoured position.
Good kick from Fui Mayono.
Great kick.
And Broughton had to turn around. She spirals the pass out to Zali Faye. On NRLW debut, Zali Faye just taken 15 out from her own line. Here's the other winger, Tess Staines, the leading try scorer in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership.
There's a lot of the grand finalists from the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership out there today. And interesting to see if the West Tigers and the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks coming in next year, Ben, manage to steal some of these players out there today.
Well, it's an interesting one, Tasha, because there's 4 Tigers in this Eels side, and they, of course, were the premiers in New South Wales. A lot of Dragons players were with the Sharks, defeated in the grand final. So intriguing matchups as Penatani comes out the other side, flings it out the back to Ash Quinlan. There's a real chance here for Zali Faye on NRLW debut. Back it goes to Quinlan. The 2 debutantes linking up down the left for Parramatta. Taufa and Preston. She's going to look for the grubber kick to herself, but Tonagato awake to the danger. What about the confidence from Taylor Preston? Of course, she was one of those Tigers that won the premiership in New South Wales, and she's brought that kind of quality to this Eels lineup.
She certainly has been, and it was a perfectly weighted kick. If not for Emma Tonagato to be there, it was all for the right bounce to come up into Taylor Preston's hands and go over for a try. But not surprisingly, Emma Tonagato, Johnny on the spot, manages to grab that kick. We're just seeing the replay here. Zali Faye manages an offload to Ash Quinlan, debutante to debutante.
So final play for the Dragons. This kick is turning around Tess Staines. And Tegan Berry down there to make her tackle and pin the Eels back. Rakia Horn broke free of the first and the second. Couldn't get past Kezzy Apps though. So Gail Broughton spots some space just in behind the ruck where Elsie Albert was slow to retreat.
Concerning about the marker defence there.
Hanisi to the halfway line. Malungi to Johnston. On the final play, Parramatta. Taylor Preston with the kicking duties once again, finds the grass. And Tonagato's going to have to go back into her in goal. It's going to sit there. Well weighted from Taylor Preston. And good defence from the Eels because Tonagato is looking for the space to exploit between defenders.
I tell you what, Ben, the Eels are looking much better already. And I think it's the kicking game of Taylor Preston. She's managed to find the bit of grass between the winger and the fullback. And she's giving her team, the Parramatta Eels, much better field position.
You can see the run meters, the Eels dominating. What a start for Taylor Preston and Ash Quinlan as well, the 2 debutantes. Remember, it was Lutu and Walker in the halves last week on debut. Dean Winters said, we're going to change it all up. 2 new halves in round 2, both on debut again. And it looks to be better for the Eels so far.
Well, it wasn't that long ago, Ben, in last season, just in March, where the Dragons halves combination were debutantes, and just look how they're dominating.
Broughton scheming again out of dummy half, links with Penatani. High quality start to this match. Completion rates up above the 80% mark. Tess Staines takes it over the 40. Now that is a play the ball which it looked to have gone awry, but Belinda Sharp says it's all good, play on.
I think the Eels nearly gave it up themselves.
Looked to be played sideways. Foliaki to the short side, that's where Preston is. She ran straight at Fui Mayono. Almost went wrong the tackle. Saved at the last minute. The last for Parramatta, this time it's Broughton who's going to kick. Saw that a bit last week. Pio chasing. Good take, going back.
Keely Brown, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's Keely Brown. And that's hard to do, looking up over your shoulder. And now Tonagato linking up out wide with Fui Mayono. And it's come out. And it's gone backwards according to Belinda Sharp. The Eels all stopped and Kezzy Apps has taken advantage of it. Gail Broughton comes across and makes the tackle.
Kezzy Apps had Tegan Berry there, just on her inside, but unable to get the ball to her.
Well, an important lesson there for the Eels, who all stopped thinking it was a knock-on.
Play the whistle, girls.
So Quincy Dodd, you can see out there, Elsie Albert off for Tale Holmes. Tonagato through Fuimaono, McGregor and on to Berry. Horn is across, but Tegan Berry has got speed. Gail Broughton stopped her initially, and then the cavalry arrived for Parramatta.
Tegan Berry has got speed and fight.
Good scrambling defence this from the Eels. Fuimaono, the early kick. This is a test. What a take it was from Ash Quinlan.
I'm not sure if that can go forward.
And that's the decision from
pass.
Belinda Sharp.
Just got to watch that contact from Vanessa too.
And just some concern over contact from Vanessa Foliaki. This is the ball coming out. This is where the Eels all stopped. Rakia Horn said knock on. Everyone stopped except Kezzy Apps.
Go, Kezzy.
And there is an injury issue for the Eels. What a tackle that was from Broughton. And here it is, Quinlan. Much taller players all around her. And it was that pass that went forward.
Christian Pio was not expecting that.
I think she was stunned, and that's why the pass was thrown forward to Penatani. So Foliaki just taking an opportunity to have a breather. Here it was. Well, I don't see much wrong with that.
See the kick. You see Holly Wheeler come in.
Here we go.
Tale Holmes misses it. Holly Wheeler driving her back. Oh, it's all on the angle, Ben.
Well, so the pass they're saying was forward was from Quinlan to Pio. Pio's pass to Penatani was fine. Wow.
Yeah,
Was that a tough one against the Eels? It looked to be from that replay. Anyway, Dragons ball, and it's Rachel Pearson to feed. So can they take advantage of maybe a bit of fortune here, the Dragons? Big test for the Eels defence. Tonagato off the scrum. It opens up for the Dragons, and reaching out and scoring is Keely Brown. Her second try in the NRLW. And the pressure told on the Eels after a set of defence.
Ben, Keely Brown, we were talking about her earlier, how good she is in defence, how she contained Vani Politi last week. She's got the job of trying to contain Tiana Penatani. That's defensively, but what can she do in attack is amazing.
So this is how they got the scrum feed. That decision, so that pass back to Pio was deemed forward by Belinda Sharp, and straight from the scrum feed, the Dragons were able to find their way to the line through Keely Brown.
I'll tell you what, Ben, the Dragons, they're playing a compressed defence there, but if you're playing that sort of defence, you've got to shut down the player with the ball, get up in their face, and they failed to do that, and Keely Brown put her in some space. She's only 20 years of age. She's come through the great pathway systems, great background story has Keely Brown, and a little shout out to her mum Carly too.
Made her NRLW debut last season, played in the grand final defeat from up in Redcliffe against the Roosters, and she actually grew up in Ulladulla and joined a female tackle team because they were short on numbers, as Rachel Pearson has missed it. So 4-0 the Dragons lead. Let's go to the sideline with Sam.
Yeah, impressive performance from Keely Brown. She actually grew up, you talk about the pathway system, playing league tag with her fellow Dragons teammate Tegan Berry and her twin Olivia at school, and just an impressive performance from her.
Yeah, it's a great story, as you touched on, Tasha. She spent a lot of time commuting from Ulladulla up to train and play with the Steelers as well, where she played Tasha Gale Cup. So, yeah, great story of persistence. Keely Brown from the Milton Ulladulla Bulldogs. That was her first rugby league club.
She's got a great family, and the family all pulled together so that she could stay at her uncle's place some nights, and it's just a great, story. Great rugby league story, the way she's been so dedicated to this great game.
So the Eels, again, having to fight back from behind. There's some good football skills from Rachel Pearson.
She's a former soccer player. I think she reach state level.
Yeah, she is.
That's
Great at a number of sports. She actually played for the young Matilda, so right there, Tasha. She was a great cricket player as well, Rachel Pearson. So she's got it all, and she's got a penalty for her side. So the Eels just compounding, conceding the first try of the game, giving away a penalty.
There's a resulting penalty there.
So you sense a really big few minutes coming up for the Parramatta Eels after conceding points, because they had such a strong start to this game.
Now, interesting to see with the...
And another penalty.
Kennedy.
2 in a row.
That's
that time.
2 in a row. You've got to be better.
And you heard it from Belinda Sharp as well on Tale Holmes. Kennedy Charrington getting the warning. She's frustrated. She's trying to bring the energy off the bench she brought last week against the Roosters. It changed the momentum of the match. On that occasion, not the energy she would have liked.
And that's not the kick, I think, that the Dragons would have liked. But anyway, they've found touch. But Kennedy Charrington, really, you're quite right, Ben. The energy she brought really turned around for the Eels.
They just look to be fatiguing at the moment, don't they? Parramatta, a few players falling off tackles. Dodd up to Holly Wheeler, short pass. And Holmes up towards the 20. Wheeler and Pearson, dummies. And P.O. just got a touch just to slow her down, and Charrington and Mailungi made the tackle. Now Dimmock, just 5 metres away, the Dragons. Dodd and Fui Mayono. Now Tonagato, here is McGregor. Paige McGregor goes over for the Dragons. The Eels defence really struggling under the strain of this St George Illawarra attack.
The Dragons always looked like they were going in on this left-hand side, Ben, and it was just a matter of great hands, great passes, being sure of the ball. Here we see Talia Fui-Mayono to Emma Tonagato, out to Paige McGregor, who loves scoring these tries, and Tegan remained on her outside as another option. Not required, says Paige McGregor. I can do it from here.
So tries in consecutive matches for Paige. Her sister Racine played a starring role for the Roosters yesterday. And Paige with a try today for the Dragons.
And you can't blame Rakia Horn here, playing in the centres. The ball gets into Emma Tonagato's hands. She maintains the ball in both hands. She's so dangerous that you can just see she just sucks in Rakia Horn, just that little bit, a touch of a second, so that it creates the space there for Paige McGregor to go through.
And what a team New Zealand are going to have at the World Cup in November. Paige, Racine, they've got a really strong base of a side that could test the Gillaroos. So she's played that one test for New Zealand. Was part of the Australian Rugby Sevens team as well coming up. So Rachel Pearson to try and push this lead out to 10. And it's well hit, but it's going to hit the post. No goal. It's 8-0 that remains for the Dragons. Sam on the sideline.
Yeah, Paige actually made her Kiwi Ferns test debut earlier this year. She scored a try last week against the Titans as well, but she actually grew up in Australia. And as you mentioned there, she's another of the former Rugby Sevens Australian players. She played alongside Emma Tonagato in that system as well. She was the second youngest woman to sign a full-time Rugby Sevens contract at just 18. But geez, we're glad that all these Rugby Sevens players have seen the light and coming over to the NRLW, aren't we?
Wait for it.
Yeah.
We sure are, Sammy. And just on that, it's interesting with their mum, Racine McGregor, who plays, of course, for the Roosters, feels that when the Roosters are up against the Dragons, that their mum favours the younger sister in Paige and is going for the Dragons.
Well, they're going to be doing battle. Good little segue. Friday night at the new stadium, Allianz Stadium, the grand final rematch. What an opportunity. The two McGregor sisters going toe-to-toe, so it should be a great match, that one, on Friday. But right now the Dragons have got a job to do, and they're doing it pretty nicely at the moment, leading 8-0. Quincy Dodd out of dummy half, Tonegato, and now Holmes. Tara McGrath-West onto the park in 17. What a great story she has as well. Late signing for Jamie Soward's team.
Tale Holmes looks to be in a little bit of struggle there with a lower leg, I think.
Last tackle for the Dragons, and it's Pearson piloting it up. Zali Faye was there, got it on the second grab. And the Eels finally have possession back. Here's that problem you were talking about, Tasha, for Tale Holmes, and she's grimacing.
Well, that is a concern for the Dragons. They've got a great engine room, but the likes of Tegan Dimmock only played 17 minutes last week. They were without Elsie Albert, of course, and she went off reasonably early. They're stopping the game here, so they really can't afford to lose Tale Holmes off their forward rotation.
3 runs already for up over 20 metres off the bench for Tale Holmes. Was actually Player of the Year with Cronulla in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership a couple of years back, and got her opportunity with the Dragons last season. It's a leg issue, as you can see.
Oh, you can see the pain. There's grip on her right leg, and oh, it's, I think, awkward landing there.
Just twisting under the weight of the tackle. Concerning for the 22-year-old. Was actually with the Roosters in the Nines in Perth in 2020 and then joined the Dragons. 3rd season with St George Illawarra. Carried from the field, so awful to see Tale Holmes leaving Combank Stadium like this.
And she's one of the Sharks in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership as well, Ben. We were talking about that earlier. So the mix-up in the teams that could come about in the 2023 season is all up for grabs.
So back underway, and it's Samaima Taufa. So is that stoppage just an opportunity for the Eels just to get a breather, maybe reset, because it was all the Dragons as Preston dinking it over the top, looking for the run of Zali Faye. Andy Robinson has to track it down. Something a bit different there from the Eels.
I like that from Taylor Preston. Kicking early. Saw Tegan Berry hadn't dropped back yet to support her fullback. So over the top, finds some space, and a good chase there by Zali Faye.
Tackle 2. Have you got a head knock, or hang on, tackle 2? I think she might have a head knock.
We may have a further issue here for the Parramatta Eels. And it's Brooke Anderson, who's just come off the bench. So the bunker will be having a look at that, the independent doctor, to decide whether she needs a HIA. So some players from both sides in the wars late on in this first half. Holly Wheeler, Tonegato, good take, hits Kezi Apps, who was in the hole.
Tackle 4. You got to go for it.
And Belinda Sharp says, yep. Brooke Anderson will have to go for a HIA.
See if we can see that hit here. Oh, just on the elbow there.
It was basically a first involvement.
Head in the wrong position.
And you can see Ruby Jean Kennard. What a moment this is. So when she finished high school last year, she set herself the goal of playing NRLW within 2 years. She wrote it on a poster in a room. Well, she's here now. The dream realised for Ruby Jean Kennard as the kick towards Zali Faye. Good take, wasn't it? Got the long arms out and reined in the ball.
Great take, but we just got to shout out for Ruby Jean Kennard. She's only 18 years of age, Ben, but she has a birthday on Tuesday, so maybe if she can come away with an early birthday present and put a win over the Dragons.
Well, it's a penalty for the Eels. It's just such a special story. You love it when you hear a player set a goal like that. She wrote it in a room on the poster, and now she gets the opportunity in the NRLW, the 18-year-old who played for New South Wales in the under-19s Origin earlier this year. Her dad, Ben Ellis, he played for the Dragons. And there's the fans in the stands, absolutely pumped to see Ruby Jean on the park. Preston to Taufa. And here is Kennard for her first carry. No, she's going to lay it off. And now Quinlan on to Broughton. Penatani hits the hole with power. And Tonegato rushing across, but Penatani will score for the Eels. What a hit back from Parramatta from their star player, Tiana Penatani.
And I'm pretty sure the Eels had that move all set. It's a set play to create that space for Tiana Penatani, because we've mentioned she's very, very hard to stop, but that gap just opened up for her. There were some great lead runs, and it was a very well executed play as you see it go through the hands here. There's a lead run, another great lead run. Good little jink there by Gail Broughton, creates that space. Tiana Penatani, Emma Tonegato just not able to get there in time to stop her.
Well, she had a look over at Tonegato. Wasn't it just great to see the two former Sevens teammates going at it in a foot race? Tonegato racing across, but Penatani put their head down and scores for Parramatta. And they deserve that, Tasha, don't they, for their first half performance.
That's their first ever points against the St George Illawarra Dragons, and fittingly so that it goes to the great Tiana Penatani.
Dean Witters absolutely loved it. Of course, the first NRLW player to sign a multi-year deal. She'll be there until next season. Of course, they wanted to wrap her up because she's another Shark, Tasha, in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership, as this conversion is going to fall short from Taylor Preston. So it remains 8-4. Tiana Penatani with her 6th try in her NRLW career. Spent a couple of seasons with the Dragons, 2019, 2020. Just hitting the hole between Robinson and Brown.
Stay on.
Good match we've got set up here, Tasha. 4 points the difference.
It's a cracker.
Holly Wheeler's kickoff. This is close to the sideline. Well taken by Preston. And now Kennard, this is her first carry. And they met her with force.
Welcome to the NRLW, Ruby Jean Kennard.
It was Kezi absent. Talia Fui-Mayono, the welcoming committee. And she's back up, she's ready to go again. She's going to make another carry here, Kennard.
Did we mention she's another Shark in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership?
There's plenty of them out there on both sides. Kennedy Charrington. Good set of defence after conceding points this from the Dragons, but the Eels are going to explore the flanks again through Penatani, who pops it up to Quinlan, over the top to Zali Faye. Wrapped up by the Dragons. It just looked to be opening up nicely again for the Eels.
Tiana pushing her number 9 aside. Says, no, I'll take this.
Gail Broughton with the kick. There's a few offside here. And Tegan Berry, she should be allowed to run 10 here. And is by the Eels defence. Tonegato. Amy Soward said after the match last week she should be the Australian fullback. It's the battle this season, isn't it? Bremner's up there in the race, as well as Tamika Upton from Newcastle in action later today.
Absolutely. Sammy Bremner's playing out of her skin. What a comeback after having 2 gorgeous children. She's back there. She's an ex-Dragon. Finds herself at the Roosters at the moment.
Kezi Apps rolled back. One of these Dragons Foundation players. Low to her feet, dodge to the short side, onto McGregor. On the final play here, the Dragons happy to take the tackle.
That's great defence from the Eels. Hang on, might have an injury here with Paige McGregor.
this is a real issue for her. Of course, scored in this match, one of their key players. It looked to be innocuous on first glance.
Hit to the throat. She's got an arm, hand up there, what appears to be her throat.
No.
Well, is it a crush? Yeah, it's a crushing-like motion. That's the issue. The head has been pinned there and then driven into the turf. Now, it looks to be something of a crusher tackle, and you would envisage that there could be a penalty here going the Dragons' way. We'll just hear from Belinda Sharp.
No later on that contact, okay? No later.
Just having a chat to Kennedy Cherrington about some late contact, so maybe they've deemed it just an accident.
But the 3 Eels players, all very concerned that were involved in that tackle. They were all stayed by Paige and saw that she was struggling.
Played for the North Sydney Bears in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership in the season just gone, after winning the Tigers Player of the Year last season in that particular competition. And it's been an entertaining first half, this one. The Dragons with the opening 2 tries, the first of them going to Keely Brown, just used her strength to get to the line. And then the other centre, Paige McGregor, down injured. She was able to get over the line as well, Tasha.
Yeah, great try there by Paige. So it's one on the right, one on the left for the Dragons. And here we see one on the left for the Parramatta Eels. And again, I'm excited like it's just happening now. I know it's a replay, but what a great set play and what a great finish, Tiana Penatani.
Well, it is wonderful to see when a player hits a hole like that, and Penatani just came rushing out the other side, and she's got her side back into the contest. Just 4 points the difference now. Still some obvious concern for Paige McGregor. And what about the centres today, Tasha? Paige McGregor, Keely Brown, Tiana Penatani. There's only one more to go, and that's Rakia Horn, the former Dragon. She's the only centre not to have got across the line. But just be interested to hear what the Dragons are chatting about, because they started this match so well, 8-0, but the Eels have fought back. What do you think Emma Tonagato and Rachel Pearson are just saying to their side?
They're just saying, let's get back to how we started this game. We saw the tries come when we stick to our game plan. Now, the Eels have fought back tremendously well, as you said, Ben. They've found a little spark, and they've really made this game now a contest.
Sam Squires has got an update on Brooke Anderson, her HIA. What's the latest there, Sam?
Yeah, we saw Brooke Anderson come off with that HIA. She has actually passed that HIA. She still has 4 minutes left to go before we can see her back.
Well, that's great news. So Brooke Anderson will be back. Keely Davis looking to come back onto the field as well, so they may be forced into a bit of a reshuffle here, the Dragons. Paige McGregor is standing up now, which is wonderful to see, and walking towards the sideline.
Yep, she looks to be okay, but it's always important. It's such a danger area in the neck, so you've got to have a very, very thorough assessment, and that's certainly what they've done, and it's great to see her actually walking off the field rather than being stretchered off. We'd never want to see that.
And there would have been a bit of shock around it as well, the way she went into the turf, sort of that crunching motion on the neck.
That injury toll just mounts for the Dragons.
So the Eels with possession after that extended break, and it's Kennard first up with the carry.
Speaking of their injury toll, I'm a bit worried, Ben. Elsie Albert left the field fairly early. She's only had 2 runs and she hasn't come back on. Is that ankle injury still troubling her?
Well, that's a concern, isn't it? Missed last week due to the ankle issue, Elsie Albert. They've already got Tale Holmes off, as is Paige McGregor. So potentially 3 injured players in this first half. Quinlan out to Broughton. Here's this combination again. It's Penatani through the gap. Tonagato racing across. Broughton back on the inside. And the Olympic gold medalist from the Parramatta Eels. That was electric.
And doesn't Gail Broughton just absolutely love it? She looks up to the crowd, puts her hands on her jersey, but that was all Broughton, Penatani, Broughton. I'll tell you what, half-time, Jamie Soward's got some work to do to get their team defending that left-hand side attack of the Parramatta Eels. But this was just, is this the try of the season? You see here, through the hands, lead runner comes through, Gail Broughton jigs again, always pushing up, always backing up. This time, Emma Tonagato knows that she has to go out there and try and control Tiana Penatani.
Well, it's almost a carbon copy, Tasha. That was the first try. This is the second try. It's virtually the same, only this time the inside pass.
Great backing up again by Gail Broughton. And there she is, absolutely loving it. It's a great ball here to Tiana Penatani. Emma Tonagato has her measure this time, but not Gail Broughton.
She's a legend of rugby sevens in New Zealand, and she may yet be an Eels legend. What a start to her Eels career. They've converted the try through Taylor Preston. Straight between the sticks, 10-8. Let's go to the sideline with Sam.
Yeah, Gail Broughton is an absolute superstar of rugby sevens, and it's fantastic to have her in the NRLW. She won gold at the Tokyo Olympics, silver at Rio, gold at the 2018 Com Games, 6 rugby sevens world titles as well. When she came to the Eels, she said Dean Witters had her at caramel latte, no sugar, and coconut milk. I don't know what that means. That's an obscure combination there, but what is not an obscure combination is the combination she had with Tiana Penatani. Both of them, of course, playing rugby sevens against each other. They never thought they'd be playing in the same team, but how fantastic they're working together today.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Sam. And how about the Eels? They have turned it on at the back end of this first half, behind 8-0. It was the same story last week. They need to bottle what they produced before half-time and use it throughout the match, because this has been superb to watch, and there's more and more issues for the Dragons on the park and off it as well with the injuries, and another penalty. So the pressure begins to build now on the grand finalist from last season. Kezzy Apps is now grimacing.
Another member of their forward pack. And of course...
Oh, it's a head clash onto the hip of McGrath West. She's going to have to go off here.
She will. What has there been? 3 minutes left that the Dragons need to hold out this Parramatta Eels team that appear to be on absolute fire.
Well, if 3 players get ruled out for the HIA, Chantel Stowe as the 18th player for the Dragons could get activated. That's potentially a while off, but they've got some issues with McGregor off. Kezzy Apps is just getting checked out.
Holding a shoulder.
Maybe she's saying, trying to deceive the bunker. The independent doctor, it was my shoulder, not my head. We'll wait and see whether she is forced from the field. Right now, the Eels are coming at them. We saw it last year. It was the same story when the Eels got on a roll. No one could stop them. Cherrington out to Preston. What an NRLW debut for her. Steered around this team like a veteran, the 22-year-old. Foliaki, should say that's Taufa, and she's taking it towards the 10. And now Kennard to Kennedy Cherrington. On the final play here, the Parramatta Eels. What is the option? Quinlan out to the left, and that's where they go to Ash Quinlan. Front player to Pio, back to Quinlan with the run around. Now Gail Broughton running out of options. In a phone box, Gail Broughton almost created something out of nothing.
She was standing still, got the ball, stood still, and still managed something out of nothing there. Look at this footwork. Little dance. Keely Brown got sucked in there to the left.
So the Dragons, well, they just can't wait to get to halftime. Keely Brown speared almost into the turf. The angle may have assisted, not going. going the way of a penalty for the Dragons.
Tegan Berry takes another run up the middle. She's not afraid of that.
So now within 10 of the halfway line. Holly Wheeler. And the experienced Dragons looking to calm down her side, as will be Rachel Pearson. Zali Faye almost between the legs there. Good take from the player on debut and hit high, so a penalty to Parramatta.
Hang on, it's not quick. It's not quick, it's a high tackle.
They can't take the quick tap.
They want to take this pretty quickly though, the clock ticking down.
Just a bit tired looking, wasn't it, from Shaylee Bent?
Yeah, first contact a bit high there.
And the kick hasn't found touch. Probably not a massive issue, being just seconds from half-time, but the Dragons will get the last opportunity to attack in this first half. Davis onto Apps. Now Fui Mayono. Maybe it is an issue for the Eels, and Tegan Berry put it down, and Tess Staines has picked it up and driven into touch by Tonegato. What a frantic finish to the first half. What a first 35 minutes that was. The Dragons led at 8-0, but at half-time, it's Parramatta 10, the Dragons 8. Underway in the second half as the Eels look for their first win in the NRLW this season. The Dragons with first use of in the second half.
What a cracking game we're having here, Ben, at CommBank Stadium. It's just absolutely fabulous footy. You can see the Eels have really fixed up the errors that they showed in their loss last week. They missed 55 tackles, and they've really improved on that, missing only 11 in this first half.
And they're going to have to keep it going in the second. They fell away in the second half late against the Roosters last week. Soliola driven back in the tackle.
Mona Lisa Soliola stepping up in the forward pack. They've got a few injuries there with the Dragons. It's good to see the young ones coming through.
Quincy Dodd onto Fui Mayono. Little chip over the top, looking for McGregor, and it's great to see Paige McGregor back out on the field after that injury late on in the first half. It looked as though she wouldn't be back, but she's recovered, and she's out there for the Dragons.
Just copped a little bump again then.
Zali Faye has been dynamic in the first half on debut. The under-18 Origin rep in 2019. Penatani. A try and a try assist for Gail Broughton. And Brooke Anderson has obviously passed the HIA as well, coming out at the start of this second half.
I'll tell you where the Parramatta Eels have really improved from last week is where they're handing the ball over at the completion of their sets. They're getting to a great kick, and that's all to Preston. She's doing such a great job.
Last tackle, Brooke Anderson just pumps it down the middle of the ground. She's hoping it'll sit up. It hits the post, and it's going to sit next to the upright for Tegan Berry to pick it up. A great start. It wasn't probably what the Eels planned as they looked to run it on the last. And then Anderson just said, let's just get it down there. Oh, and the Eels, they've let themselves down. They had the Dragons inside their own 20.
There's Maima Taufa, who pulled off 46 tackles last week, which is double any other player in her team. But it's good to see the Eels are sharing the load in their first half tackling efforts. You got Mailungi with 20, Kennedy Cherrington 14, and Taufa with 11. So it's good to see that message got across. Share the workload.
Now we've got an injury update as Kezzy App spills the ball and Parramatta come up with possession. We'll head down to Sam for that very soon, but right now, Parramatta with a chance to continue this attacking onslaught early in the second half. They've scored the last 2 tries in this match as Pio, who swung to the ground. Cherrington through Taufa, and now with Gail Broughton. Fui Mayono and Apps to make the tackle for the Dragons. Popped up to Anderson. Inside the 10 now, Parramatta. Preston at dummy half, Taufa, and now Ash Quinlan, the touch footy star, playing a key role for the Eels today as Anderson goes from dummy half. Kennedy Cherrington has it in her hands now. She's wrapped up by Kezi Apps. On the last tackle, Parramatta. Quinlan dribbles it towards the in goal, and they're going to get another set here, Parramatta. That's a perfect set for them.
Well, they've come out this half, Ben, and they're piling on the pressure on the Dragons. The Dragons will have to goal line drop out from here. There's three there. Bit of communication problem there, but Keely Brown goes, I'll wrap this one up.
A bit of a drop kick from Ash Quinlan as well, did the job. This is going to bounce and make things difficult for the Eels. It's a horrible bounce for Parramatta, and Tegan Berry has the ball for the Dragons.
Well, the Dragons are let off the hook there with a lucky bounce.
Tonagato. Here was the dropout from Pearson. Hit the point, and back to Berry.
She's great with the boot, is Rachel Pearson. I'd like to say that she planned that kick, but I don't think she did.
Wheeler played it to Dodd. Now Pearson onto Shaylee Bent. Would you believe just her second carry of the match, and she's hurt. And the penalty is delayed from Belinda Sharp, and she's saying it's a crusher tackle.
It's another Dragon forward. It's the curse of the Dragon forwards today. They're going down.
Well, there it is, yeah, jammed in there by P.O. And you could tell she knew straight away the Eels' second rower, Shaylee Bent.
Well, they'll spend a bit of time, as they did with Paige McGregor. They'll spend a bit of time, but that no need to really worry because Paige is back out there. They're just very thorough in their assessments of these injuries.
Has a connection to the Parramatta Eels, played for them in the Tasha Gale Cup in 2017. We'll head down to the sideline with Sam Squires, who's got an injury update.
Yeah, just an update on Talle Holmes, who's already come off with an injured right knee. She's done some damage to that kneecap. She'll have to head for scans to determine the severity of that. Her day is over. She won't be back playing. She's on the bench at the moment watching the girls play on. And as you mentioned before, Paige McGregor has passed her HIA. There were concerns for her when she went down just before halftime, but she's back out playing. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. So down one on the bench. Elsie Albert, of course, is not back on the field after her initial stint, and Tasha was a little concerned after that ankle issue ruled her out last week. So we'll keep an eye on that for the remainder of the game as McGrath West is playing the ball to Dodd. Holly Wheeler out to Tonagato, and now Kezi Apps. Behind 10-8, can they get themselves back in front? The Dragons, not with a tack like that, they won't. Fui Mayono had a little look and put it down.
Jamie Soward not happy with that, obviously, but the Dragons, they're looking to be a little bit rattled, Ben. It's a rare mistake there by Talia Fui Mayono. And Jamie Soward not happy.
So, really challenged for the first time this season, the Dragons. The minor premiers from last season went down in the grand final to the Sydney Roosters. Being challenged here in round two by an Eels team who were beaten convincingly last week by the Roosters, 38-16. But it's this period of the match where they fell away last week. So Dean Witters will want them to step up now.
I'm sure they talked about it. The Eels are not going to let this die in this little bit of potentially danger time.
Brooke Anderson scheming out of dummy half to Nevada George. One of 5 former Dragons in this Eels lineup. Taufa kept it going to Kennedy Cherrington. The leg drive was good. Taylor Preston. Between winger and fullback, Tonegato calls it. And straight at Taylor Preston, who stood tall. So Keely Davis about to head back out onto Combank Stadium. And Paige McGregor picked up and dropped by Taufa and Brooke Anderson. Andy Robinson. Well, the tackle looked a little high. Christian Pio sailing close to the win there as Keely Davis.
The Dragons need Keely Davis back out there, one of their most experienced players.
The New South Wales Origin hooker and McGrath West. 5 short of halfway. She's going to have a busy period now. Is this a penalty for...
The first contact's okay, but the second one's at the legs.
Yeah, the attack of the legs from Kennedy Charrington to try and bring the tackle down. You can just see here, that is a dangerous action.
Yeah, and Elsie Albert sees it as well. The Dragons get the penalty, and rightly so. An expensive one, because that was late in the tackle count.
It's McGrath West taking it inside Eels territory. Dot onto Bent, who's recovered from that burner a few moments ago. Davis, Keely Davis. The door was shut by Brooke Anderson. Looking for the penalty, not getting it. Dodd and Pearson didn't have time to get the ball away because Pio closed her down.
Great line speed defence by the Eels.
Fui Mayono, Tonegato around the back to McGregor. Rakia Horn has got her, along with Taylor Preston. Last tackle for the Dragons. Fui Mayono off Taufa, knocked on.
Parramatta, which restarts the count, then it's a knock on Dragons.
So it's going to be the Eels' ball. They've dodged a bullet there, Parramatta. It came off Taufa. So it would have been 6 more tackles, you heard from Belinda Sharp, but then Fui Mayono knocked on.
Got a captain's challenge from the Dragons. My ruling is backwards off Parramatta and then knock on Dragons.
So it's Matt Noyen, the senior review official, having a look back at this.
The right side chase is onside from the Dragons. The ball makes contact with Parramatta but goes in a backwards direction. The ball is then knocked on by the Dragons. The captain's challenge is unsuccessful.
Well, Tasha, can you explain that?
Well, I'm not sure, Ben, unless the Dragons just needed to, you know, do the captain's challenge to try and settle their team down, because there was certainly no argument in there. It was a correct ruling. Talia Fuimaano definitely knocked that ball on, so maybe they just needed to get that extra bit of time to settle themselves.
So the Eels win the scrum, and Broughton is off. Now, we've been talking about Elsie Albert and whether she will come back. Sam Squires has got an update. Sam?
Yeah, guys, we know that Elsie Albert was a late withdrawal last week with that ankle issue. There were concerns, as Tasha was saying when she came off, but we just talked to the Dragons. She is right to go. She's fit and ready, and great to see her back out there on the field. Just another thing as well, we saw just then Dean Witters make a triple change. He's got Philomena Hanisi, Sally Mailangi and Ellie Johnson all came back on at the same time.
And Ellie Johnson's making her presence known there with that hit up.
And Mailangi headgearless as well.
That threw me earlier, Ben. I was going to make mention of that.
And she's in there at dummy half on the last. Back to Preston. Keely Davis really rushed up, and the kick was straight down the throat of Tegan Berry.
The Dragons need to regroup here.
So Elsie Albert answering the questions we were asking. This is big for the Dragons, the PNG captain. She's going to run back out there in her first stint. She had a couple of carries.
Only 2 carries, so she's quite fresh. Hopefully she can get the Dragons on the front foot.
Dodd and Pearson's going to kick on the 4th. Kale Broughton across there. As Zali Faye alongside just decides to go it alone. 3 Dragons drive her back, including Elsie Albert. And they've given away a penalty. Too slow, the Dragons.
Well, Elsie Albert did well to get there, following the kick from Rat Pearson, who kicked early. Elsie did well to chase, but just slow in getting up. You've got to listen to the ref. She calls, get up, you get up quickly.
Elsie Albert, the Dragons Player of the Year in the minor premiership winning season, alongside Emma Tonagato. So that shows you just how good a season she had, because of course Tonagato won the player of the entire competition alongside Millie Boyle. Don't forget Knights Titans. That's after the 2 NRL matches today. Straight after this one, the West Tigers and the St George Illawarra Dragons in the NRL. Both sides desperate for a win in the second last round of the competition. And then the Knights and the Titans likewise, straight off the back of that. Right here on Fox League, a big day of footy. My Lungy and a dummy half, pops it to Hanisi. Albert across. Ellie Johnston onto Ash Quinlan. And there's a penalty.
It's unnecessary.
For a late tackle.
Well after the pass.
Ill discipline really crippling the Dragons at the moment.
Belinda Sharp does not put up with any nonsense. She wants a clean game. Elsie Albert there.
Christian Pio with the first run. So a chance to give themselves some breathing room in this match, Parramatta. Taufa onto Preston and put down by Foliaki, who puts a hand up immediately to apologise to her teammates.
But that's that great tackling technique that we've seen all last season and this season.
And space for Teganberry. But Rakia Horn, she knows of her speed and she was able to track it down. She couldn't quite repeat the try of last week against the Titans. Tonagato straight up the middle. So the momentum now with the Dragons after that Eels mistake. Elsie Albert. Dodd and Tonagato. Brought down by Foliaki. Still a couple of tackles up the sleeve for St George Illawarra. Keely Brown put it down, it went backwards. And she's able to get the offload to Pearson. Rushing across with Pio. Taufa was able to drag down Rachel Pearson. Brown onto Davis, fired the kick to Johnston. Was there a knock on or was it off the chest? Belinda Sharp saying it was a knock on from the Eels front rower.
Yeah, Ellie Johnson. I think she's admitted to that, but just waited for the call. Thought, I'll hang on and see what the ref says. But no, the ref's called it a knock on. Eels will have another defensive set.
Jamie Soward barking out the instructions to his side. 75% winning record in the NRLW.
He's saying push it out to the left. Is that what he's saying?
Well, this is a test for the Eels. Off the scrum, because we know what happened in the first half. Keely Brown with that try off the scrum. When they went right, this time... Well, hang on.
Doesn't come out.
Well...
Come on.
It's going to be the Dragons again. The Eels thought they had possession.
They were clapping. But I thought the Eels broke early then because the ball was sort of held in the scrum.
Comes out now for Tonagato. McGregor. There is numbers. Out wide. And it's Teganberry. And she becomes the equal leading try scorer in the NRLW.
And rightly so, Ben. We saw the coach's box. We saw Jamie Soward speaking into his walkie-talkie saying, push out left off this scrum, push out left. We suggested that's what he was saying. It obviously was, as we see Tegan Berry go over for just another try to notch up on her belt. Out to McGregor, on to Talia Fuimano. Fabulous pass selection as she holds up the defence, runs in there just enough for them to take a bite, giving Tegan Berry the room required to go through untouched. Tegan Berry, equal leading try scorer in our great competition.
In just her 10th match, can you believe that, Tasha? She is a try-scoring machine. She joins Julia Robinson, Maddie Bartlett and Isabel Kelly all on 8 tries.
And Tegan Berry, you're not going to believe this, just 20 years of age. Another great product of the Pathway system.
Was born in Port Macquarie, grew up in Shell Harbour where she played a league for the Stingrays and then came up through the Steelers in the Tasha Gale Cup, scored 2 tries in their grand final win at that level over Newcastle back in 2019.
Well, she's certainly enjoying the switch to the left wing. Played last season on the right wing. And of course on the left wing was Maddie Bartlett, who was racking up the tries. And now it's Tegan Berry's turn.
Well, don't we have 4 great players there? Berry, Bartlett, Robinson, Kelly. Rachel Pearson. Push it out to a 4-point lead. Doesn't quite have the legs, so it's just 2. The Dragons lead by sideline with Sam.
Yeah, Tegan Berry, her nickname is the Flash because she is just so fast. She dreamt of the Olympics growing up and actually finished 2nd at Nationals when she was at school in the 100-metre sprint. She is so fast. I've also got a bit of an update. Tegan Dimmick has come off with an HIA. We'll keep you updated on how that one's going.
Thanks, Sam. There's another one for the Dragons. So Tale Holmes already out for the game. Dimmick now off for the HIA. The Eels get us back underway. It's floating back to Fui Mayono, who finds Holly Wheeler. So a 2-point ball game with just over 17 minutes to go. Round 2 of the NRLW. And this is shaping up to be the closest match of the season so far.
I've got to tell you, it was not what I was expecting. I thought the Dragons would be doing this easier. But I'll tell you what, Talia Fuimano is really doing the hard yards there in the tackling. Only a small in size, but great tackle technique. She's racked up 21 tackles and leading the Dragons.
Quincy Dodd, Pearson, quick hands, bent, what a pass to Brown. No, it's deemed forward by Belinda Sharp.
Where would you, Tiana?
She had to have ultra quick hands. So that looks to be good. Yes, probably drifted forward. What do you think, Tasha?
Well, did it leave her hands going backwards? I bet you Jamie Soward saying that no way was that forward. Does it leave her hands? I think it was Shaylee Bent. Leave her hands going backwards. As he said, it may have floated forward. But anyway, we play the whistle and the Eels have the ball. Ooh, nearly didn't have the ball there.
Well, maybe it's a 50-50 call that goes the Eels' way. And Eels fans, I'm sure, will point to a moment in the first half where the Dragons got a scrum and they scored off it as the Dragons' defence is driving Parramatta back. Elsie Albert involved with Kezi Apps. There's a lot of NRLW experience there. Just 10 short of the halfway line, Parramatta. Couple of tackles left up their sleeve. Ellie Johnston straight at Elsie Albert, but she was able to pop it up to Mailangi, who fended away from Wheeler, and then Apps, who returned to make the tackle.
Ellie Johnson did well there. Oh, with C, who's down there injured? Was that Apps?
It's an issue for Kezi Apps. The early kick from Preston out of dummy half. Tonegato. This is where there's problems for the Eels, but they got down. So Kezi Apps slowly getting back into the line. The pass bounces to Andy Robinson. Scored on debut last week. Hasn't quite had as much space to roam this week. Now Tegan Berry, the try scorer, looking to find some tired defenders through the middle as Kezi Apps leaves the field. Another Dragons player injured. So Dimmick's off for a HIA. Tale Holmes won't play again today. And Kezi Apps is now left as Pearson onto Brown. Met by Penatani in a driving tackle.
And we see Mona Lisa Soliola come on there for Kezi Apps. She's only 18 years of age, but she's a powerful runner of the ball.
Keely Davis with the final play kick. And Gail Broughton, they're going to start this set in some good field position, Parramatta. Just 10 short of halfway. Zali Faye. Penatani to the short side to Pio. Johnston uses Taufa. And Hanisi.
Hanisi had Taylor Preston wrapping around on the right there. I thought she was going to give it.
Good set of defensives from the Dragons. Only 20 metres made so far by the Eels as Preston caught by Albert along with Fui Mayono. Mailungi on the last to Quinlan. Sees the space just in behind Andy Robinson and Tonegato, and almost a bit of confusion. Tonegato picked it up and Quinlan chasing her kick made the tackle.
Gail Broughton got rushing up there, had hold of the back of a jersey but unable to keep it. But Quinlan came through with a tackle.
So a smile on the face of Kezi Apps, which is a good thing, but you don't see her leave the field often. Her team ahead by 2. Tonegato over the 30. The Eels winning the field position battle at the moment. Soliola. Good legs tackle from Hanisi. So on the last, the Dragons with Pearson. Powers this kick down towards Zali Faye. And she's knocked it on. Well, what a mistake that is from the debutante. A huge invitation for the Dragons.
Absolute coach killer is this. She's played well all game on debut. And that one, a vital error. Her Eels teammates now will all have to rally together and see if they can't turn away a dangerous Dragons attack. We know what they can do here.
It was a tough one, wasn't it? The ball would just not sit still. It was bobbling all over the place. And Zali Faye, she knows she should have grabbed it. And Dean Witters knows once again it's these second halves at the moment. The Eels are causing themselves some headaches. Another scrum, another opportunity for the Dragons. They go left again. Tegan Berry, and driven towards the sideline by Staines. She flung it back to McGregor.
How did the Dragons keep the ball in play?
It's miraculous, isn't it, from Tegan Berry. And now all of a sudden it's just gone a little awry for St George Illawarra. The pass bouncing to Soliola. Fui Mayono to Holly Wheeler. Straight up Mailungi. She spotted the dummy half right in front of her and took her on. Keely Davis, Pearson, Tonegato, Brown hit by the shoulder of Penatani.
Smashing defence there by Penatani.
Albert got in front of Pearson. Wheeler was thinking about passing, decided against it. Have arrived at the last. They've survived 5 tackles, the Eels. Fui Mayono, dummies to kick, was held. Still Talia Fui Mayono. They get it out wide and they will score. It's McGregor for a double. They just couldn't wrap up the ball, the Parramatta Eels. and the Dragons have made them pay.
Well, how do you defend that, Ben? Like, the Dragons just kept that ball alive. Like you said, they've managed to keep them off for the 5th tackle, but then on the final tackle, you get Fui Mayano. He's a great defence here by Tess Staines, who I thought had taken her out over the sideline, but you can see not to be there. Then the Dragons come back. There's another great hit there by Tiana Penatani. So some great defence by the Eels, but here's the try coming up. Talia Fuimayano on the last, shapes to kick, dummies, runs, offloads, out to Mona Lisa Soliola, who gives it to Paige McGregor, who knows how to finish, and she goes over for yet another try for the Dragons. Oh, and Tegan Berry's. Oh, and Jamie Sowers celebrates in the coach's pot.
And I think he was having a look to see if he was on screen as well. Well, he wasn't at the time, but we caught the celebration. Jamie Soward loving it. He knows this has been a real tough battle for the Dragons. Down troops because, of course, the injuries. Kezzy Apps is off the field. Holmes won't be back. Dimmick with the HIA, so they have rolled up the sleeves. Paige McGregor was off midway through the first half with injury. We thought she wouldn't be back, but she has returned and scored her 2nd. That's now 4 in her NRLW career. Rachel Pearson, significant kick this, to push it out to 8. It's been tough conversions for her today. Again against the sideline. That is struck with power, but not precision. The lead is just 6. Let's go to Sam on the sideline.
Got an update for you for Tegan Dimmick. She has passed her HIA. She's got about a minute left on that HIA, and then she'll be back. They're back to 2 reserves on the bench. That means Kezzy Apps, they're still assessing at the moment.
Thanks, Sam. So straight after this one, it is the West Tigers taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. Plenty of Dragons fans in the house at CommBank Stadium. And then off the back of that, the Knights and the Titans. 4 clubs doing battle in the NRL, desperate for a win. And the ball bouncing away from Fui Mayano. And then to finish it all off, the NRLW, the Knights and Titans. The Knights looking for back-to-back wins. And the Titans their first of the season. So it could be all teams that won last week chasing a win this week. If the Dragons get the job done here. The Roosters did it yesterday, 2 from 2.
Well, the Eels aren't giving up on this one. Great defensive effort.
Bent, caught by Johnston. They've got 8 minutes to try and pull it out of the fire. The Parramatta Eels, this set of defence is what they've got in front of them here. Kennedy Cherrington with Foliaki to take down Elsie Albert. Fui Mayano, the high kick. Tegan Berry chasing. Staines doesn't know where it is, but Rakia Horn. Well, there's a bit of luck for the Eels. It bounces up into her lap.
Seen the bounce of the ball not favour the Eels in the first half, but this time they get the lucky bounce. They're on the attack.
So just over halfway, Tegan Dimmick back out there for the Dragons, so that's important for them. And they're inside the 40 now, the Parramatta Eels, through P.O. Taufa, Taylor Preston, turning it on the inside for Vanessa Foliaki. Scored a try last week, almost burst them there. They go to the short side. That's where Preston is. Back on the inside to Penatani. The kick from Mailungi. Off the post, Robinson's able to collect it. And it's a penalty for a high tackle against the Eels, just when they had the Dragons right where they wanted them.
Looks to be a cramp being attended to there. But here's Andy Robinson. It's Ash Quinlan comes in a bit high. Andy Robinson hangs on to the ball. She gets back into the field of play. Linda Sharp. always accurate. Says, no, sir, that's too high.
So Quinlan goes on report. Let's go to the sideline with Sam.
Yeah, Ben Gale Broughton, the Eels fullback, has gone off with an HIA. She's had a great day scoring her first NRLW try, but unfortunately her day's over with just under 6 minutes left of this match.
Wow.
So they're going to have to do it without Broughton. So Penatani has dropped back to fullback. Quality player to have in that spot. And it looks as though Ash Quinlan has gone to left centre for the Eels. You can see Penatani marshalling the defence.
But that great combination between Broughton and Penatani.
Massive loss, isn't it, the Eels? One of their best players off the field for the last 6 minutes. Ollie Wheeler. Oh, that was a strong tackle from the Eels, and it was an awkward fall. Pearson straight into the arms of Pio. 6 more tackles. Was there a knock-on from the Dragons?
I think Ellie's tapped that forward.
Yeah, and that's the decision from Belinda Sharp. It took a while. She's going to ask.
If it's a charge down, then it's a knock-on.
Well, the Dragons were unimpressed. They can't challenge it because of that decision about 20 minutes ago. As disappointed as they are, Tonagato looks confused. Here it is. So that's the charge down.
Pio, comes up Pio.
Oh, it wasn't knocked on by the Dragons.
It's blatant.
It was knocked on by Ellie Johnston.
Look, they're congratulating her. Well done on getting one over on Belinda Sharp.
How big could that decision be? Well, I thought the ball was fed there, the players. It is now. Preston coming around this side. And Penatani onto Horn. Can they take advantage of a bit of fortune, the Eels, with 4 minutes remaining? And Penatani taking them on herself. The captain. Preston. Here's the other captain, Samaima Taufa.
Penatani's run for 160 metres already this game, Ben. It's amazing.
Foliaki, I should say, playing it to Malangi. This is Taufa now. Inside the 30. 2 tackles left for Parramatta to try and lock this match up. Quinlan. Penatani, cut-out pass. Zali Fade back on the angle. Caught by Quincy Dodd. It is the last for the Eels. So important, this final play. Off the knees. Is it 6 more tackles? It's still the last. So it'll be the Dragons' ball with 3 and a bit minutes to go. The Eels are challenging it, though. They are challenging whether it was played at by the Dragons.
On-field decision is not played at.
Wow. Well, the Eels do still have their captain's challenge. This could be vital.
They've saved it up for the right situation here, the Eels.
Left side kick chase from Parramatta is onside.
The leg.
We're just looking to see if the ball's been played at.
Shaylee Bent, the player in question. Did a knee move towards the ball there, Tasha?
I might say a little bit.
I think just a smidge. But it's Matt Noyen with the decision.
Dragon player does not change her gait and does not play at the football. The challenge by Parramatta is unsuccessful.
So Matt Noyen says it wasn't played at by Shaylee Bent. And also a good chance here for Parramatta to get a breather. Dane Witters barking out some instructions down the walkie-talkie.
So big let off for the Dragons there.
They'll probably get one more set, the Eels. So they want to try and hold the Dragons down this end of the field. They've had a good chance to get their breath back.
Well, their defence has certainly improved from last week. Their line speed is great.
And don't forget, straight after this, it is the West Tigers and the St George Illawarra Dragons in the NRL, the men's competition. 2 teams who won't play finals, but they are desperate for 2 competition points. Some players keen to stay at the club or earn a contract elsewhere for next season. So many reasons to enjoy that one straight after this NRLW contest. Knocked on by the Dragons, so a chance for the Eels. They'll start it just outside the 40, just on it actually with that scrum feed.
Mona Lisa puts her hand up here like it's her fault. I don't think so. That ball from Tonagato was well behind her. There she goes. I'll cop the blame. But no, Mona Lisa, I think that was a tough one.
New South Wales under-19 Origin rep back in June. She's got relation to Sia Soliola, the ex-Raiders prop, also played for the Roosters in the NRL. He's a cousin to her father. Some strong bloodlines there. Quinlan to Pio. So looking to send this match into Golden Point extra time, the Parramatta Eels. Taufa. Preston. Foliaki keeping the legs driving towards the 10. Midway through the tackle count here, Parramatta. Less than 2 minutes. Kennard's pass, picked up by Johnston. The run around is good from Quinlan. On to Cherrington. So close, Parramatta. Anderson to Quinlan, on to Penatani. Down it goes. Knock on is the decision from Belinda Sharp. Have the Dragons survived? They've got no challenges, the Eels. That's the question Penatani was asking.
It's a pass from Quinlan.
Looked to be knocked on, didn't it?
I think she's claiming she was tackled without the ball. Yep. Reading her lips there, and that's exactly what Penatani was saying, that she was tackled before she actually had the ball there.
So less than a minute to go. What a finish we've had here at CommBank Stadium. 6 points the difference. The Dragons looking to survive. Brooke Anderson getting right up and under Tara McGrath-West. Wheeler off the left, straight into Taufa and Kennard. So they'll really look to run this clock down. Kezi Apps, who's back out there. Good news for Dragons fans. They've got that grand final rematch on Friday. They've got some battered and bruised bodies after this willing contest.
They've just got to get to the kick.
So the last play for the Dragons. Pearson is going to put the kick in. So the Eels will get one shot. Zali Faye takes it. What does she do? She's going to take it into contact, and that will finish the game. So the Dragons, it was hard fought, it was tough. They lost some players to injury, but they make it 2 wins from 2. Jamie Soward's team to start the season as they head into that grand final rematch on Friday with the Roosters. The Dragons win it 16-10.